Peter Obi's phone rang just before the first light of dawn broke through the Abuja skyline. The voice on the other end was fragile, rattling with panic. It was his youngest brother. Trembling as he spoke, "They're tearing it down. Peter, the building, our office in Isha. They're demolishing it. No notice, no papers, just men with bulldozers and guns." Peter sat upright in his hotel room, heart pounding. "What do you mean demolishing? Who gave the order?" His brother didn't know. He had just returned from Port Harcourt to find their 15-year-old business premises surrounded by black-clad men with rifles. They blocked his path, told him he was trespassing on his own land. Without hesitation, Peter grabbed his bag, heart hammering against his chest. This wasn't just any building. It represented years of sacrifice, a legacy, his younger brother's company, fully registered, fully legal. He flew to Lagos within hours and arrived in Isha to chaos. Crowds had gathered. Dust hung in the air. The building they're building was being reduced to rubble. He approached the armed men. "I'm the brother of the property owner," he said calmly. "Let me in." "We were told to deny access to everyone." One of them responded flatly. "Told by who?" Peter asked, voice tight. No answer. He stepped back, surveying the ruins. It wasn't random. This was orchestrated. But by who, and for what purpose? His phone buzzed with messages. "Be careful." Read one. "It's political," said another, his eyes narrowed. In Abuja, word spread quickly, but quietly. Inside smoky offices and behind tinted windows, officials whispered his name, Peter Obi. It wasn't an accident. It was a message, a warning, a threat. Since 2023, Peter had evolved into more than just a politician. He had become a symbol of integrity, hope, and change. He scared the establishment, especially President Tinubu. "He's becoming too powerful," one aide said. "People believe in him, and 2027 is around the corner." They couldn't afford his rise, not again. So they chose a different weapon, not ballots or debates, but bulldozers, not public opposition, but silent erasure. Peter stood among the debris, watching what was once a symbol of hard work get eaten by steel teeth and political fear. He walked up to one of the guards. "Show me the court order." A folded paper was handed over. Peter opened it. Read it once, then again. Addressed to unknown persons. Unknown. "How do you sue people who don't exist?" He muttered. No company name. No address. No warning. The company was real. The land was theirs. The documents were filed and stamped. "Where is the demolition permit? Was anyone served?" Silence. He stopped a contractor. "Who sent you?" "No names," the man said. "We were told to bring the machines. That's all." Peter gave him his number. "Tell whoever sent you to call me, please." From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Peter waited. No one called. By now the truth was unavoidable. This was never about zoning laws or permits. It was power. This was the state flexing its muscle in the shadows. Paper lies, real damage. He looked down at the order again. "Unknown persons," he whispered. "They want to erase us with lies." But Peter Obi was not one to be erased. The scent of dust and diesel filled the air. Bulldozers roared, tearing apart the last standing wall. Nearby, market women stood silently. No cheers, no clapping, only disbelief. "They didn't even give them time," whispered a fruit vendor. "They just came, like thieves in daylight." Some revolutions start with speeches, others begin with silence. But this was a battle started with bulldozers, and it may have just sparked something bigger. They came in the night, masked as ordinary demolishers, but the truth was far darker. Peter Obi's brother stood behind the yellow police tape, fists clenched, lips pressed into a thin line. One by one, his employees arrived, eyes wide with disbelief, not hope that this was all a mistake, but dread as they realized everything was gone. Their offices, their machines, the files that chronicled years of hard work, nothing was spared. Peter approached a nearby shopkeeper in a shaky voice. "Do you know who sent them?" he asked. The man paused. He looked at the armed guards, the unmarked black trucks. Leaning in, he whispered, "These are Tinubu's boys. They've come before, whenever they want to intimidate people." Peter frowned. "May I record that?" Immediately, the shopkeeper shook his head and backed away. "No phone number." "Not here," he said, voice tight. Across the street, someone pulled out a phone, but a suited man in plain clothes gave one sharp nod, and the screen disappeared into a pocket. In Lagos, that nod was understood. Recording meant trouble. Phones vanished, and silence fell. Peter looked around. A dozen people had witnessed the destruction, yet not one dared speak. Fear had conquered them. He clenched his jaw and stared upward at the gray sky. They want us afraid, he muttered under his breath, but deep within, something flared. If fear was their weapon, maybe truth had to become the fire. Late that evening, Peter finally sat down. His clothes still smelled of dust and fresh concrete. The rubble clung to his shoes. His phone buzzed once, an unknown number. He nearly ignored it, but a voice told him not to. "Hello," he answered. "Brother Peter," a calm, familiar voice replied. "This is Ibrahim Traore, from Ouagadougou." Peter straightened. "President Traore," he said, voice slow. "I know what happened. Thank you for calling. I don't know what to say." Traore continued in a measured tone. "I've seen this before. When they can't break your voice, they destroy everything around it." Peter's grip tightened on the phone. "They demolished my brother's property. 15 years of work gone overnight." "I know," Traore replied gently. "And I know why they fear you. Peter, you represent something uncontrollable, and fear makes cowards reckless." They stood in silence across the distance, the weight of their shared reality pressing through the line. Traore broke the silence. "Don't back down. The people of Nigeria are watching. Across Africa, we are watching. The world may turn away, but history does not forget." Peter nodded slowly, unseen. "Thank you, Ibrahim," he said quietly. "I'm grateful. Stay strong." Traore replied, "And if the fire grows too hot, remember, some of us are ready to help carry the flame." The line clicked off. Peter sat in darkness, phone still gently vibrating. For the first time that night, he smiled, not because fear had vanished, but because he was no longer alone. Before sunrise the next morning, Peter returned to the demolished site. The tearing machines had left, but the damage remained: twisted metal and shattered glass among the piles of brick. He walked through the ruin, carefully stepping around debris until he found something: a burnt folder, spilling torn documents onto the ground. His brother, standing nearby, looked ashen and too exhausted to speak. Peter picked up a shard of wall tile, its white surface still visible beneath layers of soot. He closed his eyes and whispered. This was someone's future. Memories crashed in promises made at campaign rallies, days spent listening to hopeful towns, children shouting his name as if he carried their dreams. Now those dreams felt buried beneath the rubble. A local reporter from a small news outlet approached. Quietly, she asked, "Sir, what message do you want to give the people of Nigeria?" Peter took a breath that cut through the morning air. His voice was steady, but raw with emotion. "If this can happen to me, a former governor, a presidential candidate, the owner of a registered legal company, what hope does it leave for a woman selling tomatoes at the market, or a young man driving a cheap cab, or any one of you?" He didn't shout. He didn't raise his voice. The hush carried more weight than any roar. He had learned a hard lesson. Truth has a price. Sometimes it costs you something. Today, it cost them their offices. But it cost something even heavier: the idea that those in power would not strike first. Still, Peter didn't turn away. He pressed on through the debris, because some dreams are worth rebuilding. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of Lagos, two former campaign aides, now private investigators, quietly picked up the trail. They weren't officers. They didn't wear badges, but they had one weapon stronger than any uniform: conviction. They traced the company name found on the bulldozer, only to discover the phone number had been disconnected. The address pointed to an empty lot. No workers, no permits. They staked out the site. Hours passed under the sweltering sun, until one excavator operator returned to fetch his tools. They approached him cautiously in a roadside bar. "We're not here to arrest you," one said gently. "We just need to know who hired you." The man, clearly rattled, stirred his drink before answering. "I was paid in cash. No names, just told to work on that location." Another pressed on. "Who told you?" The driver glanced around and leaned in. "A man in a black Jeep. He said it was political. That's all." That single admission was the spark. Political, not zoning, not safety. A fight had started in Lagos that night. One won't be decided in courts or press rooms. It was a battle for the people's truth, and it had only just begun. If fear was their weapon, truth would be its match. They came at dawn thinking they were the hunters, but they walked into the den of a wolf pack. It began with a whispered exchange. "Did he mention Tinubu?" The man refused to answer, staring away in silence so loud it drowned out any plea. The two investigators departed quietly, hearts heavy with the truth they'd learned. This wasn't a rogue judge or a bad ruling. It was deliberate. Someone powerful had activated a hidden machine of destruction, men, machines, and bogus paperwork deployed in the dead of night to crush a truth they feared. Back in Lagos, Peter Obi sat in a cramped, legal office, surrounded by towering piles of files, court documents, and dusty law books. Across the table sat two seasoned legal experts. Senior advocate Mrs. S. frowned, running her finger down the devilishly flawed demolition order. "This is nonsense," she said, shaking her head. "The court claims the land belonged to unknown persons. That means ghost company, no name, no address, no registration, no owner, no standing." The younger lawyer leaned in, eyes wide. "Look at the timeline. Filed Thursday morning. Judgment by Friday afternoon. Demolition began Saturday, before dawn. 2 days from start to finish. No hearings, no defendant notified, no proof of ownership. It's like they pre-wrote it all." Peter's knuckles whitened on the table. He asked quietly, "Who signed the judgment?" "An acting judge." The lawyer replied, "One rumored to answer to powerful friends in Abuja." Peter's eyes narrowed. "So the court didn't rob this land," he whispered. "It was a weapon in a silent war." That night, Peter sat alone in his Lagos office. His clothes still smelled of dust. His documents still smelled of smoke. His phone pinged with a confidential email from Ouagadougou. The subject line read, "Invitation to a closed forum on African sovereignty." It was from President Ibrahim Traore, a private gathering with just a few regional leaders, discussing the hidden war against voices of change. Peter stared at the screen, then at the charred remnants of his brother's building. Once, it had been a hive of innovation, jobs, ideas, opportunity. Now it was rubble and sorrow. But from those ashes rose something fiercer than anger. It was purpose, ignited. In the days that followed, Peter traveled quietly to Burkina Faso. No press, no fanfare, just a man determined to bear the scars of a broken system. In a modest state house in Ouagadougou, Traore greeted him with steady calm. Around the table sat fellow leaders, young and tested, each marked by battles of their own. Traore spoke first, his voice ringing with quiet defiance. "They tried to silence you. But when they strike one of us, the fire spreads." Peter shared the full account: the bogus court order, the media blackout, the bulldozers arriving while people slept, the personal and the political merging against a backdrop of fear and injustice. The room fell silent as he spoke, not just about himself, but about the countless Nigerians crushed beneath similar threats: market women, small business owners, students who dared to speak. "This isn't just my fight," he concluded. "It's ours." Traore nodded. "We stand together, not with bullets, but with truth, not with alliances, but with unity." There, among fellow leaders and elders who had taken similar blows, Peter realized the ashes of his brother's office were not mere ruins. They were kindling for something greater, something Africa had been waiting for. Back in Lagos, the dusty site stood silent once more. People came and went, curious eyes tracing the rubble, mothers pulling children close. Everyone saw what happened, but no one spoke aloud. In Lagos, silence can carry a weight heavier than a roar. Peter stood at the edge of the debris crater. His hands were tucked into his pockets, not to keep warm, but to steady himself. He wasn't there to cry anymore. He had cried enough. He wasn't there to scream. The world knew too much now. He was there to remember. He thought of present thieves using bulldozers in the night. He thought of the people who watched, eyes down, phones hidden for fear of being seen. He thought of the men in black SUVs who came in the dark. Then he looked up at the sky, cloud-streaked but not defeated. "They want to frighten us," he whispered. "But if fear is their weapon, truth will be ours." He turned to his brother beside him, voice low but steady. "This is not the end. One day this country will choose between the Nigeria we've always known and the Nigeria we deserve. That decision won't happen in palaces or courtrooms. It will happen in kitchens, markets, classrooms, and in hearts. That day, no bulldozer will be strong enough to crush it, because memory is louder than lies, and from memory, revolutions are born."